every time we're going to have a storm, every time we're going to have bad weather, oil's going to pop up because BP never picked it up. Out of sight, out of mind, and leave us with the mess.
Hello, our names are Miracle,
Axel,
Ryley,
and Val.
and welcome to our podcast. Our topic for today will be about the Deepwater Horizon Oil spill in 2010. No one really talks about the after effects of what happened to the residents, family members of the deceased, and wildlife. After the oil spill, the company didn't really take care of the employees or the residents that were harmed.
BP needs to compensate those who were affected by this oil spill, which basically means to give money to the families that were affected. But before we get into that, some background information is needed.
So to start off, the main reason the oil rig had a sudden blowout was because of a wellhead that wasn't checked.
What even is a wellhead?
It's like a system with a bunch of valves and adapters that give the well a pressure-controlled environment. Basically, a pressure controller that has to be checked. There's a special valve called the BOP valve and stands for blowout preventer, which in this case wasn't checked if you can't tell.
3.1 million barrels of oil was spilled into the ocean, which roughly polluted over 1,000 miles of shorelines.
How much oil in a place that's normally clean? I'd assume that much oil would affect humans a lot, right?
Yes, of course humans were affected.
Fishermen, everyone working in or near the Gulf, their health. Years later is still being affected, since those who did not receive proper health care reported having awful long-term health effects that will impact them for the rest of their lives. The symptoms range from skin irritations, headaches, rashes, boiled skin, nervous system problems, and respiratory symptoms. As the oil kills cells in the airway, making it hard, if not impossible, to breathe without assistance. It is important to note that people did not have to touch the oil for them to have these health issues, meaning those who were not directly dealing with the oil but lived in the general vicinity of the oil spill were affected health-wise. However, if they had proper health care provided to them for all those impacted, they would have fewer long-term health impacts. That being said, the only way to eliminate any and all health problems coming from the oil spill would be to prevent the oil spill from happening in the first place.
Damn. The oil spills also affected families of peoples and children directly exposed to the oil. It was like a flu. Someone near you gets it, then everyone else gets it.
Do you know the number of deaths by any chance?
Sadly, 11 were dead after the direct exposure to oil following the following day. 17. It seems that BP didn't do anything to help residents or tourists. The public end up having more health issues later in the years. The first day, as their condition worsened, 4 years later, fresh oil is still killing marsh and affecting by oil. Millions of gallons of oil was laced with toxic disparity suspense through the water columns of the sea floor level.
Hold on, what does disparance mean?
It's a liquid or a gas that disperses small particles in the medium.
It causes long-term severe harm to the public's health. It causes people to have bald spots, bulge rashes, injured kidneys, livers, and red blood cells. And other health issues.
Many fisheries and seafood industries lost a combined total of around $1 billion. This caused many people to lose their jobs and possibly own source of income. However, they cannot find other jobs because many of them cannot work due to their poor health as a result of the oil spill. Therefore, the only way of receiving money and healthcare would be from the government unemployment benefits, which should be the people responsible, BP, and tourism in the area, which made people and companies have difficult physical times.
BP, also known as British Petroleum, didn't collect the oil and let it spread everywhere. Added a chemical called Corexic to the oil spreading underwater.
What is Corexic?
Corexic is a chemical that makes the oil sink instead of actually leaving the water. However, it made the oil 52 times more toxic for the sea life. Seafood like shrimp had tumors on their heads and fish had bumps on the side of their gills.
Were there efforts to clean just for PR, or did they really care about the residents or wildlife they screwed over?
What is PR?
PR stands for public relations.
The EPA told BP must use less toxic dispersants. However, the main reason they used that chemical and sprayed it heavily on the waters was to be used as if people don't see it. It doesn't matter. So the residents and people call it out of sight, out of mind. BP paid $35 billion. $15 billion went towards cleanup costs and the other $20 billion went to economic damages. Even though they paid a ton to try to clean it up, they ended up making it worse for the oil spill. Did it actually disappear though? No, it actually just sank to the bottom, so it didn't really disappear. It was a horrible solution and killed all the fish, making the water more toxic and hurting residents, fishermen, and their businesses.
BP's efforts to clean up weren't enough, since they made the oil sink to the bottom of the ocean. BP just masked the problem, Dean Butchard said. A seafood business owner near the spill said.
Every time we're going to have a storm, every time we're going to have bad weather, oil's going to pop up because BP never picked it up. Out of sight, out of mind, and leave us with the mess.
In addition, BP cared more about their public view than their employees' well-being. For example, the people who claimed just wore their normal clothes and rain boots. No hazmat suits were given, and BP actually told the fishermen at the oil spill that they would be fired for wearing a respiratory gas mask. BP received complaints from the employees regarding their lack of PPE, personal protective equipment, and their health as a result. BP was not concerned and ignored the complaints.
The oil spill in Gulf of Mexico was taken into science research by GoMRN. They also made a research story to help give a public better understanding. They were able to make 3 films, one named Dispatch from Gulf.
It seems as if BP didn't really care about cleaning. They did try to pay some of it and clean some only so they wouldn't get bashed for it. BP should pay for the hospital bills for their employees. They should also pay for the local residents' hospital bills. The reason being because BP is responsible for the bad cleanup as well as the loss of the seafood to the locals' ecosystem, and pay reparations to all the people involved.
What does reparations mean?
The making amends for wrong one has one done, by paying money otherwise helping those who have been wronged.
I don't think the problem is getting better. The oil spill has stopped, but the people's health has gotten worse over the years. And the people listening should definitely donate to the residents.